When you start playing the harp, you may discover that a lot of resources and tutor books include what's known as music notation or sheet music, which is the kind of notation that uses music symbols to tell you things like which string to pluck, in which order, and in what kind of rhythm. And if you haven't had much previous experience with this, you may feel a little confused about where to start learning about this whole new language. If you want to get some clear answers about what's relevant on the harp, and what you should focus on first, you're in the right place. Hello there, I'm Zuzanna. I'm a professional harpist, harp teacher and the creator of online courses on reading music. In today's video I'll show you the 5 essential steps to getting started with reading music on the harp so you can avoid going down the rabbit hole of looking through all the different music theory resources and trying to find out what's right for you and your instrument. Before we get started, if you're wondering whether you actually need to read music to play the harp and you'd like to know more about different ways of learning, check out my earlier video where I discuss this in more detail. I'll put this one for you here and along with all the other resources in the description of this video. And if you know already that you want the kind of freedom and independence that comes with reading music and the ability to access and learn on your own any piece of music ever written, stay with me as I explain how to get started. On the harp, the notes that we played are spread across 2 staves. Each stave is a set of 5 horizontal lines. Typically, most of what your left hand will be playing will be notated on the lower stave and for the right hand on the upper stave. This may make it seem like what happens for both hands is quite separate, almost as if the upper and lower stave spoke 2 different languages, and you may sometimes hear people say that they find one of them more difficult or that they find reading them both at the same time tricky. But when you know where to look, you will be able to see the connection between the 2 staves and to recognize the notes for both hands a lot more easily. Because, in fact, these 2 staves belong to the same world and can be read as one. And when you learn these basic skills for reading music, you will be able to use them in exactly the same way for your right and left hand at the same time. This is something that is really important to understand, because it's very specific for instruments like harp or piano, where music is notated using 2 sets of staves, as opposed to some other instruments like flute or violin, where you only get 1 stave. Some music theory resources will teach you first about the notes on the upper stave, and only after a while will let you move on to the other. I highly recommend that you start from the middle, and to be more precise, from the middle C, and then go outwards in both directions, moving in the space which connects the 2 staves and learning about both at the same time. This will also make it easier for you to get used to playing hands together and coordinating them both at the harp right from the start. I teach about this in more detail in my free video training that you can sign up for through the link in the description below. The free lessons in there will take you only 15 minutes, but will make a huge difference to how you look at music. So if you'd like to get a good start at reading music, or maybe you played another instrument which only used 1 stave and now you want to get better at reading music hands together, make sure you check it out through the link in the description. In the meantime, to sum up this first tip real quick for this short video, start from the space around the middle C and learn perhaps fewer notes to start with, but on both staves at the same time as you go outwards. When you progress this way, you will likely learn to recognize some of the notes right away, like the middle C that we mentioned earlier. Don't worry if you don't know all the notes yet. This will come with time and practice. Even if you only recognize 3 or 4 notes for now, you can already start learning about patterns while having a little extra help on the side to recognize the notes. Try to avoid writing the letters in the music though. Instead, try this. What I recommend is getting a simple cheat sheet where you can see the names of the notes that you're most likely to come across at the beginning of your journey, and to keep this cheat sheet on your music stand so you can refer to it whenever you need, and also to keep track of your progress. So if you're going to follow my earlier advice and learn new notes for both staves at the same time, you will be likely starting right in the middle with your middle C and gradually adding more notes on either side. I recommend focusing on just a few notes at a time to keep it easy. To keep track of that and of your progress, you can circle or highlight the notes that you're working on so you can find them easily. You can make a cheat sheet like that on your own, or you can download the one I created that you can print multiple times and update whenever you want to add new markings. You'll find it alongside the video training I mentioned earlier with the link in the description of this video. We talked about learning the notes, which are the symbols that come together into our musical language. And the most important skill to be able to use this language fluently is learning to recognize the patterns. I know that this may feel daunting when you think about learning the notes and then suddenly those patterns are still there to learn, but in fact the basic, most common patterns are very, very simple. If you have ever spotted two notes being repeated and played on the same string twice, you already know the first basic pattern. In fact, one of the first simple pieces that you can play on the harp is all about this pattern too. You start with the middle C and the low C, you repeat the same notes again, then you move on to G, repeat again, and then you come across the second basic pattern when you make a step up to the two neighboring strings, the A, repeat, and a step down. As you progress, you will learn about many more different patterns, but when you're aware of these basic two and you keep noticing them in your music, you will progress a lot more quickly. One important note about learning to play any instrument, but especially the harp: make sure you take one small step at a time. When you start learning a new piece for the first time, you may feel like you have to do everything right away to make it sound the way it should. So you try to read the notes, play the right rhythm, keep both hands playing or play at a faster speed, but when you're just learning, it's not necessary to do all this at once. And sometimes it's just plain impossible. So give yourself the permission to make that one step at a time. It's perfectly fine to first work out the notes, even if it takes time, and you can even ignore the fingering in this very first step and use just one finger, maybe the second finger. You can even ignore the rhythm for a start so you can focus on reading the notes. There are a few different strategies for learning new pieces, but it will all be a lot easier if you always make sure to pick easy pieces or exercises. Ideally, you want to begin with pieces that use a smaller range of notes, so if you just started learning to read music, you don't feel overwhelmed about all those other notes that you can't quite recognize yet. And here's a side note: telling the difference between the difficulty level may not be so straightforward. Even if you've got two pieces that are labeled as beginner level, there may be a difference in how technically difficult is a piece to play and how difficult it is to read. Some beginner books assume that you already know how to read music, and even though pieces and exercises use simple techniques, maybe two fingers or simple rhythms, you may still get either a big range of notes or some more complex notation, and then it's absolutely normal that it feels more challenging or that it takes you a bit longer to go through that. So if you're learning what's labeled as a beginner's piece and you still find reading music more challenging than you were expecting, please don't panic. It may be that the way this piece is written is not as straightforward, and you may just need some more time to practice your reading skills. Maybe go through some simple exercises to focus on different elements of music so you can learn what to look for and what to watch out for. In my online course, Reading Music for Harp, you get to practice reading music on exercises that are designed to make sure you're learning the skills that you need to read music fluently, without overwhelm. In the course, I'm also giving you a detailed recipe on how to approach new pieces and in which order you can work on all these elements and then how to put them together. If you'd like to learn more about the course and how to enroll, follow the link in the description of this video. In the meantime, you can also take advantage of other books and resources that will give you some easy material to practice reading without necessarily having to learn a lot of new pieces. In the description below, I also put some suggestions, because here comes my final tip: if you want to read music fluently, it's really important that you practice reading music away from your pieces too. Gaining enough confidence to read music fluently takes time. And if you only read music when you work on your pieces, it may be that you just won't get enough experience reading, especially if you have good memory and you tend to memorize things quickly. Which is why it is so important that when you're still learning, you don't limit yourself to reading only the pieces that you play. You can take a look at the books that I recommend, or you can take my online course to make sure you not only get to recognize the notes faster, but also learn the important skills like spotting patterns, playing in time, looking ahead, and steps for learning any new piece. Again, you'll find the link below, so go to the description to find out when enrollment opens again. Now, I'm curious to hear from you. Are you learning to read music on the harp? And if so, what stage are you at so far and what does it feel like? Feel free to share with us about your progress, and if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to help you out with another video. Also, make sure to subscribe Coffee Break Harp so you get notified about new episodes, and if you found this video helpful, give it a like and let us know in the comments. I'll see you here very soon. Take care for now. Bye!